everybody out there, this is the franchise Shane Douglas telling you that when you want the lowdown, the best, the very bottom line of professional wrestling information, you got to listen right here. Interactive interview.
Hey, you've got Terry Funk here, and you're listening to the Interactive Interview.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Interactive Wrestling Radio here at WrestlingEpicenter.com. I am Patrick Kelly, being joined, as always, by Nick Knoll. James Walsh will be with us in a few minutes. Yeah, Nick and I, we've got a lot to talk about, especially after what happened on Monday night. A very serious and scary situation.
Absolutely, and of course, everyone knows we're talking about the heart attack suffered by Jerry the King Lawler during a Monday Night Raw broadcast, and we both wanted to extend our well wishes once again to Jerry and his family and all of his fans during this very hard time. I also want to give credit to the WWE because I felt like they handled that as well as you possibly could given the circumstances.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and absolutely, everything you said is true, and we wish Jerry a speedy recovery, and best wishes obviously go out to his friends and family during a very tough time. But yeah, watching Raw this week, I mean, it really did bring back flashbacks of Over the Edge 1999, which if for those of you who saw that pay-per-view live, it was, and if you don't know, that's the show where Owen Hart had his accident and died. And, you know, it was very hard to watch, and I was getting a lot of memories of that, and I thought for sure that Lawler had died. I thought that's what happened. So it is good to see that he pulled through okay, and it sounds like all the news I'm hearing is good. He doesn't have any brain damage, and he, you know, it looks like he's going to pull through okay. So at least there's that. And but yeah, that didn't make it any less scary as it was going on. I mean, Cole looked like he was going to break down any minute. And you know, major props to Michael Cole for handling it as well as he did.
Yeah, and I think Cole was probably like you. He was probably convinced that he had just seen the last of Jerry Lawler. Because, I mean, right. It was, from what I've heard, the general feeling backstage was, well, thank God this happened here at Raw and not on an indie show where he wasn't back in his hotel, because the fact that there were EMTs right there, a lot of people believe is what saved his life.
Absolutely, absolutely. Oh, there's no doubt in my mind. If it's going to happen, at least have it happen at that building where the WWE was sure to be right on top of it.
Right. And, I mean, unfortunately, I think this, from what I understand, Jerry's had 3 stents, which is a medical procedure that I have no idea how to explain it to people, but he's had 3 stents placed in his heart to hopefully, I guess, help with the healing and keep his heart beating strong. Now he's going through all that. He actually did post a tout that you can see now on the news line, where he basically just thanks everyone for help for you know, their you know, positive thoughts and, you know, prayers and everything. And I mean, it really was. I mean, I think you said it really was the closest we've come in a long time to having an over the edge 1999 moment, and that's not a good thing. I mean, at first I was like, well, okay, could this just be you know, a storyline? Because I remember when he got attacked by Punk, they made it a point to say he had chest injuries. So I was like, well, could they be doing an angle like that? And then when you realize, oh my God, this definitely isn't a story, you're just like, I hope he's okay.
Right, absolutely, and
yeah, cause, I mean,
you know, it's. Go ahead.
Well, people that have listened to this show know I'm not a big Jerry Lawler fan, but there's a difference between not wanting to see a guy get a title shot versus, you know, not wanting a guy to pass away.
Absolutely, and I guess this leads us into the next part of the discussion that we were going to do, which is part of the reason we didn't want guys like Jerry Lawler and guys like Bret Hart and guys like Ric Flair to be wrestling at this age is because something like this could happen. And, you know, there is a genuine concern for their health. doing. Wrestling is not the easiest thing in the world to do. It does put a lot of strain, and it requires some great cardiovascular conditioning, and it's very hard to achieve that at that age. And what happened on Monday night is one of those things that I feared whenever somebody at that age gets into the ring.
Right. For people that don't know this, Lawler actually had wrestled a few days before this. He had been on a tour and wrestling shows in Aruba. So, I mean, you're essentially saying that a 62-year-old man, he'll turn 63 at the end of November, got in the ring and I think wrestled essentially 3 matches in relative proximity to one another. And, here's the thing, when you are, and, Ric Flair was kind of saying, well, Lawler's more qualified than half the guys on the roster right now because he knows more. It's like, sometimes it's not an issue of knowing more, it's an issue of can your body take it. I mean, when you reach, certain ages, you're told to start slowing down. The old saying is, you can't do what you did when you can't act like you're a 20-year-old anymore.
Exactly.
And the heart, as you get older, from what I understand, for most people, even if you take really good care of yourself, your heart muscles will start to weaken. And apparently he complained of chest pains during the week. I honestly hope this is a wake-up call to Jerry and just he never gets in the wrestling ring again. And I hope it's a wake-up call. Unfortunately, I fear it won't be for other guys that age. I mean, I know people are going to say, well, Terry Funk still wrestles, Gypsy Joe still wrestles. They shouldn't be. If they want to be involved in the wrestling business, they got to find other ways to be involved. And that, I said this when Bret Hart came back the first time. My big fear was, what if Bret takes something by mistake, or someone works him stiff by mistake, and just doesn't get a grasp on their own strength, and he suffers another stroke and passes in the middle of the ring. I never want to have to run on our news line, blank dies in the middle of the wrestling ring. And think of how horrible that story would have been on Tuesday morning. A wrestling legend dies at ringside. Horrible. That this had to happen again. And I just pray that Jerry says, okay, I've had a great career. I've achieved everything I could possibly want to achieve. It's time to hang up my boots for good and just be a commentator. Because, look, I mean, they're not going to fire. Someone actually said that they doubt he might even be allowed to commentate going forward because traveling puts a lot of strain on your body. People have to understand this man did not just have a mild heart attack takes a long time to recover from. This guy apparently had a very large one. We may, honestly, there's a good chance we may never see Jerry Lawler call another wrestling match because of the travel involved.
Right, exactly. It's, he's not going to be back right away. That's something that people need to understand. It'll be, if he does come back, it'll be months down the road.
Right,
for sure. But
I think from what I understand, this tout that he put out, he's still in the hospital in Montreal, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, we're getting a lot of positive signs and good news that he's up and he's responsive and there's no brain damage, but it's still it's going to take him a long, long time. There's I think generally the first step would just be he's got to get home and be able to settle back into life at home and just being able to make that easy for him, or as easy as they can. For this, because people don't understand when you have a heart attack like that, and I've been very fortunate in my family that we don't have a history of heart problems, but from what I've been told and what I understand is that it is a huge thing. You are never really the same person after one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So hopefully, again, this kind of, maybe even if the wrestlers themselves are stubborn and don't want to get out of the ring, maybe hopefully in the future wrestling promoters will exercise better judgment in the future of actually allowing them to get into the ring.
Right. You hope. I mean, you really hope because let's be honest, Lawler looks to be in pretty good shape for a man his age. There's some guys out there that are in a lot worse shape but still try to climb into the ring.
Well, Bret Hart and Ric Flair. Those are the first two that come to mind, so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say this, man, at the end of Raw, I mean, you had Bret Hart lay out CM Punk, so I'm worried, oh my God, are they going to try to do that angle?
Mm-hmm.
Right. I really do hope, but I mean, maybe, guys, if Jerry says, look, I want to wrestle one more time. I want the WWE to say to him, Jerry, we love you. You've done everything for this business that could possibly be done, but we can't let you back in that ring because we never want to have you taken out of here by an ambulance again.
Right, exactly. Exactly. So, very rough week in that regard. Is there anything else you want to add to the Jerry Lawler discussion beyond that?
No, I think we're just trying to stall it out in case Jake.
Well, we'll see. Once again, my best wishes go out to Jerry Lawler. It's good to hear he's doing okay, and hopefully he continues to improve from here on.
Right.
And, but we got other things to talk about. I believe No Surrender was on Sunday.
Yep, No Surrender this past Sunday, and we're recording this on a Thursday night, so I just got done watching Impact. I don't know what Patrick.
I did watch Impact, yeah.
Okay. My thoughts on No Surrender. It started off very well. It had its peak in the middle of the show, and then I felt like the main event just kind of, they had a good idea, but it felt like the main event just felt kind of flat.
I'll say this. I'm not a fan of Hardy winning the Bound for Glory series. I thought of all the options, he was the least interesting from a storyline perspective. They went for him because he's the bigger name, and that's exactly why he got that spot. But it's just kind of like, well, I mean, you got Bully Ray, who's kind of a red-hot character right now. For TNA, never thought I would ever say that, but he is. You have Samoa Joe, who was on this bit of a resurgence, and I thought maybe he would be the one behind the Aces and Eights. Then you had James Storm, who, I guess we all knew he was going to be facing Bobby Roode anyway, but, he's pretty much the most red-hot babyface in the company at the moment. But it's just like, really, Hardy? Say what?
I named Austin Aries.
Other than Austin Aries, yes, absolutely. But, it was kind of like, it's like, really? They're going with Hardy? Well, yeah, it's kind of a letdown. And they didn't really do anything on Impact this week to make me think, oh, yeah, Aries and Hardy, yeah, that's your match. Because they just kind of, like, had Bully Ray lose to him again. So, it's like, I
think, though, they actually did do something that got me kind of interested, where right before Bully Ray came out, Austin Aries said, everyone says Austin Aries has something Jeff Hardy wants. Jeff Hardy has a lot of things Austin Aries wants. I think a good idea here would be to really push the concept of Aries is the world champion, but Hardy is the much bigger star. And for Aries, he wins this match, he feels like that puts him on an even higher level than he already is. It's the definitive statement of I am the very, very best because I beat Mr. Popular. I beat Mr. Superstar. They're kind of doing it right now with boxing. This upcoming Saturday, actually, they have Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. versus some other boxer, and they basically are billing it as this other boxer by insiders is considered the much better boxer, but Julio, because of who his father is considered the superstar. So if you can push that kind of angle, I think it could work very well, and I still think there's a good chance we could have it be revealed Jeff Hardy is a member of the Aces and Eights.
It'll be interesting. I wasn't thinking Hardy when they first. Actually, after tonight's show, I'm starting to think D'Lo Brown, which I hope they don't go that route. But I don't know. We'll see. Overall, I didn't think No Surrender was a bad show. I thought it was a good one. But this was the first TNA pay-per-view in a while, the last few months, where the ending just kind of fell flat. It kind of left me wanting more, especially since on the show they did the whole thing where the arena was put on lockdown and there were cops all over the place, and I was expecting something crazy to happen at the end of the show. Even after Hardy won, I thought something nutty was going to happen. No, just he wins and that's it. It was kind of like the Royal Rumble this year where Sheamus won, and they had promised this thing with Jericho saying that the world would change the world would change as you know it or whatever, but nothing happened. So it just kind of felt like a letdown.
I won't go that far.
No, it's not from the same cloth. It's not as bad, but
yeah,
it's a similar. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think that's the old temptation. I that might have been the old temptation of, send the fans home happy, the babyface won. I thought maybe Foley would win tonight. Because, the Impact night, there was a rematch. Or I thought they'd do it in a fluky way where, the aces and eights would jump and both men wind up getting their shoulder, both men pin the other. It's a double pin or something, and you do a three-way. So we'll see kind of what all goes down as the weeks, move forward. I feel like there is kind of like a nice internet wet dream match here because you have Austin Aries versus Jeff Hardy, and when Jeff Hardy's on, he's capable of having really good matches, and Austin Aries has, since coming back to TNA, has shown the world why. Hey, this is why people were saying I was the next, big thing on the independent scene. So, I mean...
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I don't think the match will be bad at all. That's not... none of my problems with it have anything to do with the match. It's just that, maybe if they had run with Hardy and doing this whole Road to Redemption thing, I'd probably buy it a little bit more, but they didn't really play that up as much.
Yeah, that would have been a good idea. We'll see what they do the next few weeks, because they do have a couple more weeks to build it up. But it does kind of come off what they're doing is just, well, here's one of our biggest names. He's getting the world title shot, so... We'll see what happens. I think they're trying. We'll see what happens. We'll see, what happens. I'm excited about the rest of the card because it looks like we're going to get the big blow off to Rude versus Storm.
Right. That's going to be the best match on the show. I think that's going to be the one that really makes me want to see the show.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. We always kind of thought that would be on the card, and I will say this. The feud is, I think, good enough and hot enough that you don't need the world title to be a part of it. I guess this will be one of those situations where hindsight will definitely be 20/20. It's like, well, definitely should have had the world title on it. Who cares if Austin Aries got that hot? Or it could be, you know what, it didn't need the world title on it, and Austin Aries has made a great champion. We could argue all day, which was the better option at the end of the day, and we could both be right.
No, I think Storm and Rude will have an excellent match regardless, so it'll be fine. I thought they set it up really well at No Surrender, so no complaints there. The rest of No Surrender was pretty good. I liked how they set up Rude and Storm. I liked the whole thing they did with the aces and eights. I liked the injury angle with Hardy. I thought they were going to pull some shenanigans there, and but again, they set it up well, but they didn't. I wasn't a fan of the ending. I thought the tag title match was very good.
Yep. I thought Zima Ion and Sanjay Dutt had a really good match. I kind of felt like I felt bad for those guys because they got no build on the TV show, and then they had to go out there after the segment with Hardy, with the segment with the aces and eights, which I think was the best part of the whole show. It's like, goddamn, they were basically the popcorn match. It's like, but they really did have a good match if you sat back and you watched it.
Oh, they did have a really good match. They did. It's times like that you wish they'd probably put a little bit more into the X division where they're, getting more body. They need to get some more talent into it just to fill it out more because Dutt's not even under contract. He's basically just making a special appearance. And, but yeah, they did have a really good match.
Shit. That's one of Dave Metzler's special reports. What happened is Sanjay was hurt at the pay-per-view. He took time off to heal the shoulder, but, some idiot on the internet said, well, that means Sanjay's not really under contract. He's got to be under contract. I'm sorry. I'm not buying that he's not. I'm not buying that. That smells of one of the experts showing off what they don't know.
Well, it felt like on Impact this week they were writing him off by having Zima injure him again.
I think that's just they like to push Zima as a guy who's remorseless and will hurt people. That's kind of been his shtick. Well, Ion's last couple of pay-per-view matches and even the match tonight, he's won clean. So I think they were like, we got to remind these people why he's a heel.
Right. Okay.
I don't feel like that was a write-off. I felt like it was just, God, what an asshole that Zima Ion guy is.
I guess we'll say, Dutt is definitely worthy of a contract. I would think that they would, give him one.
Right. And, and also going back to No Surrender, I like the way that they used Bobby Roode because I had kind of forgotten about him. Well, that's not right, but I guess we've kind of become programmed to think if someone's going to interfere, it's the aces and eights. So when Roode came out, I was like, oh my God, I didn't see that coming.
Well, I kind of predicted it just because I knew that I just had a feeling that Roode and Storm was going to happen again at Bound for Glory, so I was kind of half expecting it, but it still came off really well.
Yep. Yeah.
But, No Surrender, not a bad show. It was pretty good. I just, again, like you said, I felt like the ending kind of left me wanting more.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed the fight. And one thing I want to put over that TNA did was this fight. I always like when guys do this. Aries wore, street fight clothes. He wore a T-shirt and jeans. And let's be honest, if you're going to be in a fight, ladies and gentlemen, you would not wear Speedos unless you're gone swimming. You know. But so I also like. Aries fought that like a street fight. He had powder. He had a roll of quarters. He fought just as down and dirty as the aces and eights would. You know what? If you are in a situation where you have to defend yourself, if you get knocked next to a board, you're going to take up the board and start swinging it. So I like that.
I've actually seen. I remember the roll of quarters, and this is kind of random, but I remember my freshman year of college, a fight broke out, and the guy who was my friend. I whipped out a roll of quarters and started punching the shit out of somebody. But, so you don't think that kind of stuff can hurt? It totally does.
Yeah, trust me. The experience I have with martial arts and the instructor starts talking about street, real-life situations, he says that real quick way just to, give yourself more power. You have to defend yourself. He actually showed me it's a spinning back fist, and you put your car keys in it, in your fist. So basically, you stab the guy in the neck if you hit it.
Right.
Somebody who walks in and doesn't understand what the hell I'm talking about, probably just look at the person listening. It's like, what the hell are you listening to?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So anyway, No Surrender was one of those. I didn't feel like the ideas were there. It's just the execution, for whatever reason, didn't work. And I feel like kind of doing the entry angle and then the way Jeff and Bully worked it actually held their match back instead of helping it. You know, if that had been, especially given the stakes that were on the line. You know.
Right. Exactly. And I thought it was a little weird how Jeff Hardy's supposed to have a broken shoulder, and yet. And yet he's like doing the swanton bomb and all that kind of shit. But he seemed perfectly fine.
Also, the way they kind of did it with Hogan coming out and saying to Bully, "Okay, you have a choice here," and it was looking like Bully was going to say, "Okay." I'm like, Bully should be saying, "Not a chance, brother. If he can't wrestle, I win the damn series." So that way, it feels even bigger when Hardy's music comes out and he's willing to come out and face it. It's like he has no choice. He's going to lose his opportunity. It's not. If he doesn't risk it right now with the bad shoulder, it's little tweaks that make that a lot better.
Right, exactly.
All right. I also want to give a big credit to Tara and Miss Tessmacher. Right? I would have to say this. If I talk about the single most improved talent that I've ever seen from her first appearance in a wrestling ring versus her current appearance, I would have to say Miss Tessmacher. Because she actually can show that she can actually get on the ground and wrestle with someone.
Yeah, I don't know who's been training her, but she looks a lot more professional in there. A lot more polished.
It would not shock me if that whole teacher versus teacher-student storyline is inspired by real life, because I'm sure Tara probably has had to do that numerous times in the WWE where she had to show the girls how to wrestle properly, and I'm sure. It's like, especially since they team together, Tara might have said, well, okay, let me show you this so that way my matches don't suck when you're in there. Because they did team together for a little while. Yeah, so,
right.
And also, I think, sometimes I think it does come down to general passion about, do you really want to do this for a living? I think we saw that with Trish Stratus. She came in and she was a model. She didn't know a wrist walk from a wrist wash when she started, but she wanted to be good at this. And she became great at it. I think the same thing to an extent, has happened with Miss Tessmacher. She did really want to do this for a living, and lo and behold, she's become pretty damn competent in the ring.
Yeah. Yeah, and it looks like we're going to get a rematch at Bound for Glory, so hopefully that turns out well. Although I have to ask, where the hell has Mickie James been?
I don't know. I know that she has like a deal in her contract where she can focus on her music career. So maybe maybe she's recording an album or something.
It just seems weird that she's never on TV because again, it seems like it's always like it's the champion, her opponent at the pay-per-view, and then their tag partners or whatever. And those are the only girls you see. I'm like, don't you have more girls than that? It's like, well, where's Mickie? I hardly ever see her anymore.
Yeah. Or, I don't know, maybe she's moving to England since she's engaged to Magnus.
That lucky bastard.
Yes. Yes, he is.
That lucky son of a bitch.
Yeah, it's weird, especially with Magnus, because over in the UK, he like gets like other he's hosting like a television show over there. He's also doing a stage play in December.
Holy shit!
I mean, like, I guess like in the UK, he is a huge star, or a pretty decent, well-known personality.
That's really funny. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, then again, it's England. I mean, what other celebrities do they really have? They have some guys they have
Monty Python crew. Yeah.
They have Monty Python, Doctor Who. That's about it for what you know about England.
Sherlock Holmes.
Yep. Yeah,
in
sure.
various incarnations.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's it. I mean, what does England really have?
Great tea.
You know what? James's wife might kill us or delete this whole show.
Oh, well. I don't think she'll care. Kathy won't.
But you know what?
She's got a good sense of humor.
Look, and also, living with James, I'm sure this is stuff she doesn't hear. This is probably benign compared to what she hears every single day.
Probably. But, yeah, we talked about No Surrender. We talked about Jerry Lawler. Is there anything else we want to go into before we go?
Well, we do have Night of Champions this Sunday.
Yes, we do. I actually completely forgot. With everything that happened this week, I actually completely forgot there was a pay-per-view. But, yeah, we got Night of Champions this Sunday, and I believe, are all the title matches set?
Yeah. All the title matches are set, and the one non-title match is set.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's the card where all the titles are on the line, which, if you're going to have a gimmick if you're going to have that more belts than you need, you might as well just do a gimmick show like this. Just say, hey, all title matches. And this is one gimmick that doesn't bother me because it's just, hey, title matches, so it's not really that big of a deal. But I'm not impressed with the way they set up a lot of them, and that's kind of the problem.
Right. Well, first off, if you're going to do a gimmick pay-per-view with all title matches, you really need to do more to build up the titles in general.
Right.
I mean, it's like, perfect example, and you talk about this in your videos, with The Miz. He was on a losing streak, somehow got a shot at the Intercontinental Championship and won it. And he's done really nothing with it since winning that title. Antonio Cesaro won the U.S. Championship, and it's like, he has like one rematch with Santino, but we haven't really seen anything else with him, since winning that belt. And
well, his opponent at the pay-per-view is going to be the winner of a Battle Royal because they didn't have anything set up.
And you know what? Here's just my thought, and this is not rocket science, ladies and gentlemen. If you're going to have a Battle Royal to determine the number one contender to the U.S. Championship, how about you do it on SmackDown or Raw the first week after the previous pay-per-view? That way you have 4 weeks to do something to build up, this U.S. title match. And it doesn't have to be deep. It doesn't have to be personal, but say it's going to be, Tyson Kidd that wins this. He wins that Battle Royal. He says, this is my opportunity. I've been underperforming my whole career. I'm going to beat Antonio Cesaro for the U.S. Championship. And you have, Antonio say, oh, no, you're not, little man, and just do a little bit. Just, you don't have to do, I'm not saying you need to give these guys 2 hours every week or, give these guys 20 minutes every week, but just little 5-minute things to remind you that they're there and make you get interested in this match.
Yeah, and it's little things like that. And you know what? I'll be honest. The reason why they didn't do it 4 weeks ago is because they didn't think of it until this week.
That is probably it. The Intercontinental Championship on this match is going to be a 4-way.
Oh, by the way, I'm thinking Ryback to win the Battle Royal and take the U.S. title.
Yeah, I think here's my pick. It's either going to be Santino, but that's only if Christian doesn't return. If Christian returns, I think he wins it and then wins the U.S. title.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did that.
Yeah. So, I wouldn't be surprised if Ryback won it.
Yeah, if Ryback's in the Battle Royal, he's winning the belt. There's just no way that's not happening. So because they love Ryback. So.
And maybe when he wins the championship, he can get a bonus at the pay window, and he can finally afford to have actual pyros set off during his entrances.
Yeah, those invisible pyros. I mean, come on, man. I mean, TNA even has pyros for the wrestlers, man, and they were, like, so far beneath the WWE in terms of production. And Ryback comes out, you hear, like, a gunshot or a cannon, whatever it is, going off, but you don't see the pyro. I don't understand that.
I didn't actually notice it until you said something in your video, and I'm like, you know what, that's absolutely true.
It is, every single time. Yeah, and it bugs me. I seem to be the only one that's bothered by it.
But, I mean, if they want to do the Goldberg entrance, they should do it. Why not just do it? Because, I mean, a big part of Goldberg's entrance was, that whole thing where he'd walk through the fireworks, and it would act like it didn't touch him. I mean, it's like, I think even Hulk Hogan said, people said that, like, even Hulk Hogan was like, wow, this guy's got a really good act.
Mm-hmm.
Even Hogan was impressed by Goldberg's entrance. And Hogan doesn't impress easy because he thinks he's the greatest thing that ever lived.
Yep.
Yeah. For some reason, I would not be shocked if James gets arrested at Bound for Glory trying to meet Hulk Hogan.
Well, he's already talked to him over the phone.
Yeah. I know, when you get that close to him, I don't think James can control himself.
That would be funny.
Yeah. I kid. All right. Well, Intercontinental Championship on this match is Intercontinental Championship match is going to be a 4-way. It's Cody Rhodes, The Miz, Rey Mysterio, and Sin Cara. My prediction is Sin Cara botches and hurts himself, and Bray wins the title.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Okay, let's look at those 4. They already ruined Cody. I mean, yep. He should still be the Intercontinental Champion, quite honestly. Miz
trick.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Big Show needed a WrestleMania moment. That's why that couldn't happen. So they ruined Cody. Sin Cara's been a bust. I don't care what anybody tells me. He's been a failure. And Miz has been just a nothing champion through no fault of his own. It's just the way the situation is. So at this point, you might as well just put the belt on Rey, given those options.
Yeah. But you know what? I'll say this. Rey getting the belt won't do anything. Because I think we saw last month at SummerSlam in his home state, the fans just don't care about him anymore. Some of that's just booking and just about he's been here so long. It's just like, no matter what happens, it's like whoever wins this championship, for the most part, is going to be just a lateral move for the title. It's like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So, I guess. I guess Ray wins. They could very well run with Miz too. I guess it doesn't matter. But that's the thing with the Intercontinental title; it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes what we see with the Intercontinental title is we will have that odd feud that's really hot and you get excited about, and then it just goes back to being just the random title match of the month.
Right. Exactly. So we also have the tag title match, which is Kofi Kingston and R-Truth versus Kane and Daniel Bryan. Don't give a shit.
Well, we all know who's going to win.
Kane and Daniel Bryan, no question. They're the hot act right now.
Right. Well, also because that is one of those things that that every wrestling company does now, because it's a twist, and it's not a twist anymore. Partners that hate each other and are forced to work together. Well, they're going to do it because they're going to do it because that's what everyone does. And unfortunately, at this point, because everyone does it, it'd be a bigger twist if the two guys that hate each other don't win the championship.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
right. I agree. And I'm not a huge fan of the comedy segments that they've done with Kane and Daniel Bryan, as I am, not a fan of most of the comedy segments they do. Period. So, whatever.
Oh, those segments have been awful, and I don't want to hear. And I know people are going to say, "Oh, but they're funny." They're not funny. Yeah, they're awful. And they don't help either guy. It's like, it's like somebody said, okay, this Nick Knoll guy really likes Daniel Bryan. How can we make Nick Knoll miserable? Well, let's put Daniel Bryan in a bunch of comedy segments with Kane. Perfect. Knoll will kill himself by the fly. I think that's what they did.
Right.
Patrick.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that's exactly what they did. They paired him with the guy that you hate most.
Yes, just to make me miserable.
I'm sorry, Nick, but they're going to be tag champions, so that again, it is what it is.
WWE, I have enough problems in my life. The Rams suck. The Huskers suck. I injured my leg. I destroyed something at work that's going to come out of my paycheck probably. I don't need this. I really don't need this. All right, well, moving on.
Exactly. We got Divas title match, which is, they kept it not Eve, fucking Layla versus Caitlyn, right? They didn't add Eve to the mix.
Well, there's still time. I honestly think
that's true.
You know what? It would not shock me if Night of Show, that's the twist, that they do that and like Caitlyn gets locked in a closet or something, and then Eve makes it her title shot, or even they somehow do it where Caitlyn wins and then Eve gives herself a title shot right then and there and takes it from her. No, there's no good ending. There's no way this match is good. Layla is boring in the ring. She's not a good wrestler. She has no gimmick anymore because now she's just a generic WWE female babyface. I mean, I didn't like her as a heel, but at least she had something of a character. Now she's just like, yes, I'm here. I'm Layla. And Caitlyn, Caitlyn has potential, but she's way too green to even be on the main roster. I don't see her learning. She's the person that should be stuck in NXT for a long time, learning this business. If she wanted to be a wrestler, she really would be someone who would benefit from working the independent circuit and being on shows like WSU, Shine, or any of the other female wrestling promotions out there. She's not ready to be in this match. I think I like her. I think that she has some potential, but it's like she's not ready yet. I mean, to me, it's the equivalent of taking Kenny King in TNA and putting him in the Bound for Glory main event. It's like maybe 5 years from now, but not now.
Well, the funny thing is that that battle royal that determined the number one contender, they botched the finish. Eve was supposed to win that match, supposedly. And she slipped on, when her and Caitlin were doing the finish, Eve slipped off the apron and...
Yeah. I don't know what's worse. That I think that someone is trying to had a slow news day and wanted to get a story out there on the internet, or the fact I could actually buy that being because Eva's that goddamn clumsy in the ring.
Actually, you know what? When I read the report, I went back and rewatched it. It does look like they fucked up.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing. If Eve gets in this match, Eve isn't any better. She's very clumsy in the ring, and I don't get why some people give her all this credit for being such a great wrestler. I want to know what matches they're watching.
No,
please.
She's not. And she's better than like the Laylas and the Kellys of the world because she actually has training in like kickboxing and shit. So she at least looks a little better. But as far as like her matches go, she can't put a good match together.
Well, I'll say this: there's a little carryover to that stuff, but it doesn't equal a good pro wrestler. And you know what? A pro wrestler, no matter how versed he is in pro wrestling submissions, would not be a good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighter without a good deal of legitimate training. The good news is I just reported that Eve is actually engaged to one of the Gracie family, a member of the Gracie family. And from what I've read about that, from what I've read about them, she'll be pregnant within 5 weeks and for the next 20 years.
They're like bunny rabbits, aren't they?
Ladies and gentlemen, I believe a good 70% of the Brazilian population are members of the Gracie family, one way or another.
Oh, damn. Well, I'm going to make a dirty joke, but I'm not even going to go there. But
Brazil is basically made up of a bunch of guys named Silva and a bunch of guys named Gracie.
And they're all wearing thongs, because apparently that song was invented in Brazil.
The only Brazilian I have ever seen that became really world famous that doesn't have the last name Gracie or Silva that I can think of off the top of my head is Ayrton Senna, and that's because his name from Silva, to his mother's maiden name when he joined F1.
Oh, wow. But, wow, that's crazy. So that was the Divas title match. The Gracie family tree is a natural tie into the Divas title match, of course. But we also have one non-title match that's Dolph Ziggler versus Randy Orton, which we've already seen on TV, I think, like 2 or 3 times this month alone. So,
here's my prediction, Patrick. Randy Orton will win on Sunday. On Monday, they'll do Orton's contract versus the Money in the Bank contract. Dolph will win because Orton's got to go film his movie, and they don't want to get a good storyline ready for when Chris Jericho comes back for real. So I think they're going to do that idea. They're going to give an idea that would work for Jericho and just modify it so it works for Orton. He'll lose his contract, and then the next babyface GM on Raw or SmackDown will hire him back.
That would probably happen because it seems like Dolph is losing all the time.
But he's a Money in the Bank winner, Patrick, that didn't cash in the night he won it. That's pretty much how it goes for everyone.
Yeah, sadly true. He might cash in at this pay-per-view, but people predict that at every pay-per-view as long as somebody still has the Money in the Bank briefcase. So, yeah, I guess Orton goes over just because that's the trend. And that's really all I have to say about this.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't. It has the potential to be a good match, but I don't think it's going to be anything that's worth riding home to mother about.
Right, and speaking of the world title, we've got Sheamus versus Alberto Del Rio for the 800th time. I don't give a shit. I didn't like it the first 2 times she did it on pay-per-view. It's just, fuck. It's been going on since May, hasn't it?
More or less. Well, yeah, more or less. I mean, I think the only time they didn't have a pay-per-view match was that time Del Rio got hurt, and they swapped in somebody else.
That's right. It just feels like this feud's been going on forever, and it was never that good. So it's like they're just trying to find everything in their power to keep this damn feud going, and I do not give a shit. So Sheamus wins. Ziggler might cash in. I don't care. Fuck it. I don't care about the two guys. I don't care about the belt they're fighting over. I don't care.
Well, here's what I honestly. Well, first off, there is a stipulation at this match, and that's that Sheamus's brogue kick has been banned, and I guess now if he uses it even when it's not in a match, Booker has said he'll strip him of the title or something. Well, first off, ladies and gentlemen, there's a big logic hole in having the kick be banned since, we've seen so many wrestlers take it and relatively be fine the day afterwards or within a few minutes, and they're making a big deal because, Ricardo Rodriguez got hurt. It's like, how many times has Ricardo been beat up since he joined the main roster? And also, they kind of killed a lot of the drama for this thing because the reason you would ban a guy's finishing move or finishing hold would be to build the drama of what's he going to do because now what he usually does isn't an option anymore. And they killed that because he's been winning by the Texas Cloverleaf the last few weeks.
Well, I mean, Sheamus is a guy that has like 18 finishers. He's got like White Noise, he's got the Irish Curse, and now he's got the Texas Cloverleaf, and I've seen him win with all of those moves. So it's like, okay, there's one less move you have to worry about. I think James is called in. James, are you with us?
Oh, great.
It is not James. It is I, Captain Hook.
That's the worst Captain Hook I've ever heard in my life.
Yes, I'm very tired, and I'm not really looking forward to much. Hello, guys. I don't have a lot of time. Actually, I'm just about to run upstairs, but I did want to check in, and if you guys are still on the line in like 2 minutes, I'll be able to participate.
We're just doing our Night of Champions preview, so we're almost done, but is there anything you'd like to say?
Hi. Line is fuzzy. I noticed that. Does anybody else notice that? It's fuzzy?
A little bit.
And a little irksome. I will be right back, guys. If you're still there, I'd like to participate. But like I said...
Patrick, let's wrap this up as quickly as possible.
All right, well, I mean, that's the World Heavyweight title match. It's, I mean, again, I don't really give a shit. Do you, Nick?
No. Prediction, I'll do the reverse. You know what? Here's what I think is going to happen. I think Del Rio will win it. Sheamus will hit the bro kick to knock him out. Out comes Ziggler to cash in and win the world title.
They might do that too, but the problem with Del Rio winning is that he's lost to Sheamus like 18 times. So at this point, it's like, well, who cares at this point?
Yeah.
How is he still number one contender?
Because it's the WWE, and Alberto Del Rio is one of the chosen ones. How many, with the exception of when he got injured for a while, he's pretty much been in either a world title match or a WWE title match for like for over a year straight now, it seems.
Yeah, and he's boring. I'm sorry. It's not that he's a bad athlete. It's just that he's boring.
He's very boring, and they want to make him the next big Latino superstar because that market's a big is worth a lot of money down the road. Well, unfortunately, he's not the right guy to cash in with because he's just boring. He's not going to connect with. He might connect with like those really hard listeners, people that have just such pride in their own people that they'll root for them over anybody else. But like more casual people, like just the Mexican Americans that are born here and don't really see themselves as Latino, or just see themselves as American, he's not going to connect.
Right, absolutely. But
I'll ask this. I'm not trying to offend you, but Kelly, you're probably Irish. Do you feel Do you feel any additional connection with Sheamus based on the fact that you both have similar heritages?
Not really.
Yeah, exactly. Folks, I'm French-German. If you brought a guy out wearing a beret or a guy coming out, speaking German, that's not going to connect with me any more than just a really good wrestler with charisma. So, Del Rio sucks.
So, yeah, there's that. And finally we have the WWE title match, which is by far the best match on the show, although it's a far cry from where they were at with Money in the Bank last year. John Cena versus CM Punk in a show that a crowd that I'm sure will be split, even though it's in Cena's hometown.
I don't think it will be split. I think it will be pro-Punk because Cena does not get a good response in his hometown.
Well, I mean, he hardly gets good responses everywhere he goes.
Yeah. And, Patrick, did you see the promo Cena cut on Monday?
Oh, where he says, like, you guys were right. I can't wrestle. It's like, I can't. John Cena, I couldn't lace Bret Hart's shoelaces. And I could lace his boots. I'm like, fuck you. So you can't admit that CM Punk is the best in the world, but you'll suck up to Bret Hart because the fans like Bret Hart in Montreal.
Also, it's like this. You know, he says to Cena, he says to Punk, you have ultimately stood for nothing this past year. I have values. I stand for what I believe. I'm like, you're the guy that's kissing the ass of the crowd that's booing the living hell out of you. You stand for nothing. There's a reason that the joke on this show is when we talk about Cena, I like what you like.
He likes what you like in the language that you speak.
They should make him the anti-Antonio Cesaro.
Well, you know what would be funny is that somebody did it where he would change his jersey depending on what city they're in. What if he started changing his language and dialect depending on what part of the country or what country they're actually in? They go down to Mexico, he starts speaking Spanish. Up in Quebec again, he starts speaking French. They go to Ireland, he starts speaking Gaelic or Celtic, whatever you call it.
No, Roddy Piper only starts speaking Gaelic after he beat the living piss out of him.
What was weird about that was it took them like 6 months to actually translate it. I remember, for those that don't know what we're talking about, there was a segment on WCW Nitro once where Hogan beats the living, ever-loving fuck out of Piper with the NWO, and Piper's getting stretchered out, and they're putting a mask on him, and he's just like, going, guys, this is so taking it in! You know, and like, you're like, okay. And then like 6 months later on like a WCW Saturday night, they were like, ladies and gentlemen, as you may remember, and they play the video clip, we now have a translation of what Roddy Piper was actually saying, and they brought out like these two old people on camera, and they translated it as, the battle is not over until you are home. And I'm like, what the fuck does this have to do with anything anymore? That was months ago. We've seen Piper since.
That's a really good question. I don't even remember that, but that's really funny.
That was one of those weird things WCW would do, even at their peak, that just made you go, huh?
Well, I feel like I'm doing that every week now, so it's like I'm totally immune. That seems almost normal.
Yeah.
By today's standards.
Yeah, it's kind of tame, really, when you think about it. I mean, at the time, you just kind of scratched your head. But, you know what I miss, though? I miss the days when I'd go to school and it would be like gang war about what company you supported. And I remember 95 and 96, I started carrying the WCW flag instead of WWF. And guys were like, they don't got any stars down there. And I distinctly remember going the day after Halloween Havoc 96, going into school that day. And they're like, what happened at Halloween Havoc? Let me guess. Oh, they couldn't decide what side Sting was on. Ooh. And I was like, yeah, and Roddy Piper showed up. And then the jaws almost literally hit the floor. They're like, who'd you say showed up? And they were just stunned. I mean, that was a great time to be a WCW fan. Unfortunately, it didn't last long, but it was still an awesome time.
Actually, my story with that was the night Hogan turned at Bash to the Beach, where I was not watching WCW at the time. I was just kind of like, the Dungeon of Doom thing had kind of went in, and I was kind of out of it by that point. And people were talking about the pay-per-view the next day. I'm like, oh, what happened? Oh, like, Hogan turned bad guy. And I'm like, well, I was like, yeah, sure, okay, seriously, what happened? But no, seriously, Hogan's the bad guy now. I'm like, wait, what? Yeah, and Hall and Nash are with him. I'm like, wait, what? I gotta watch this. And the rest is history.
Yeah. No, I remember distinctly getting into arguments. I went up to a Shawn Michaels autograph signing. Go with me on this. He was doing an autograph signing at a Toyota dealership outside of Giant Stadium and Meadowlands Arena, Brendan Byrne Arena, Continental Airlines Arena, whatever the hell they call it this week. I don't even know if it still exists, to be perfectly honest with you. Anyway, he was doing an autograph signing there. He showed up 2.5 hours late.
This was for Survivor Series, wasn't it?
No, this was for a house show in July.
Okay. Didn't you? I remember you telling me the story where the reason the crowd booed him at that Survivor Series was because he was apparently a jerk to people at an autograph signing or something.
No, they booed him at the house show too, and they cheered when Goldust kissed him. But I think the locals kind of got fed up with them. You know, I don't know how many of them were at that signing. I can tell you that it was a huge-ass crowd. So, but yeah, he showed up like 2.5 hours late and signed for a half hour, and then left. And they started like frantically trying to give out like carbon copies of his autograph, and I tore it up in the attendant's face. I'm like, fuck this! I didn't stand in line for this long for that. And anyway. The reason why is because everybody at the signing in July of 1996 was arguing over who the third guy was going to be. And I thought, wow, I'm in the heart of WWF country. I'm in, just outside of New York City. And everybody here is arguing over WCW. I can't imagine another time in history when they would have done that.
James, that's a really great story. Too bad you've already told it before.
Well, did I ever tell you the time? Did I ever tell you the time they were chanting NWO at Survivor Series?
They chanted everything at that Survivor Series.
No, but James, did you ever hear that there was this pay-per-view called Heroes of Wrestling that had a bunch of old guys on it, and out of nowhere, Stan Lane came out for his match, and the announcer had like a gay crush on him.
Not only that, Nick, but Kenny Dykstra was called that because he was a big fan of baseball player Lenny Dykstra.
Ah.
Yeah, that's where that came from.
He's another guy that was engaged to Mickie James.
Who's jealous, man? That reminds me, and this is way out-of-date news, so like this isn't breaking news or anything like that, but do you think there's anything to that whole Mickie James slept with John Cena thing?
You know what? If there is,
absolutely true.
If there is, I really don't give a damn. Honestly, that's between Cena, his wife, and whoever Mickie James was dating at the time.
Who was Kenny Dykstra?
Well, you know what? I guess if it's true, you know what? Shame on them, but it's like okay, Tiger Woods fucked 127 women that weren't his wife, and he seems to be doing okay.
Who's that now?
Tiger Woods.
Oh. Yeah, but did you ever see the chick that he banged?
No, I don't care. I don't want to talk. I'm just saying that in general, I don't think you should cheat on your boyfriend, girlfriend, fiance, husband, wife. But if you do, it's not the worst thing you could possibly do. People make mistakes, so it seems like
I wrote a book about it.
It seems like Kenny. There was a time that it seemed like every week he was trying to get his name in the news.
Ironically, by the way, if you are a hot chick that's been genetically crossed with Mr. Ed, then watch out because Tiger Woods probably is after you.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, we actually did manage to keep it on wrestling for a good, 50 minutes. Then James shows up.
No, I'm just kidding. But no, seriously, I know you guys have already talked about everything, and I kind of feel bad that I missed it. I guess you guys already covered Lawler, right?
We did, but if you want to say anything about it, you can go right ahead.
Well, the only thing I can really say about it is the truth, and that's Patrick called me while I had my little guy in the tub, and I saw that the phone was ringing, and I knew it was Patrick. I couldn't reach it, And I was thinking, well, Raw's on. He's probably calling to tell me about something like that. But then I thought, what in the hell could he possibly have to say to me about what's going on Raw, considering how crappy the show has been of late? So, I wasn't surprised to hear it was something real and not something that they wrote that warranted the, hey, did you hear what happened call?
Mm-hmm. Well, at that point, it was, are you watching the show?
Yeah, I mean, I got to deal with these mongrels. I have the world's smallest guard dogs, and they're pains in the freaking ass. Hey, shut up. What is wrong with you guys? Shut up.
I feel like we're on a Kevin Smith podcast. He yells at his dog all the time.
Remember during the Scott Norton interview?
Yeah.
In the middle of nowhere during the Scott Norton interview. Shut the fuck up! Okay. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. He was yelling at his dog, but it scared the shit out of me because I thought I did something to really piss him off.
But speaking of Kevin Smith, if you ever get a chance, there's an interview he did where he talks about when he was hired to write the Batman movie. He just had some really fun, not the Batman movie, but the Superman movie, and he's got some really funny stories about that.
Cool.
Yeah. Really good. But anyway, James, where were we? What were we talking about?
Where was I? I don't even remember because the dog started barking. Oh, they're outside now. What were we talking about? I don't even remember.
Lawler, I called you.
Oh, yeah, no, I was just saying that it's sad news, and, God bless him, get well soon. It does cement what we've always been saying is that, the older guys need to know their limitations.
Mm-hmm.
And I do agree with that, but I think it's sad that when you called, the first thing I thought was not, oh, I wonder what great angle they came up with. Instead it was, they couldn't have written anything good, so what the hell is this going to be?
Yeah, did you have a chance to see any of it? Because it was really, I keep making the comparison to Over the Edge 99. It was a lot like that.
Yeah, I mean, I did have a chance to see it, and I actually watched it back. I tape everything. I DVD record everything, and like right now I have Impact on the screen because I DVD recorded that too, and I immediately went back and watched the disc back, and man, it was awkward. It was awkward. Now, if they do a Raw is Lawler show and have the guys talking about smoking pot the entire show, then it's a fitting tribute.
I didn't know Lawler. Well, I guess it's wrestling. I guess everyone does, but I never knew that was the thing with them.
It was in a shot at Lawler. The Raw is Owens show. They had Road Dogg and I don't even remember who it was. It was Road Dogg and somebody. A couple segments talked about lighting it up, and they weren't talking about the crowd. They were talking about blazing up. And it's like, Jesus Christ.
Oh, the Owen Hart show?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was Road Dogg. Yeah.
That was Road Dogg. And you got to remember, it's also Road Dogg back in '99, so he probably was. But.
Oh, he definitely was back then.
I think he still is today.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Well, look, I'm not trying to say that he's doing like hard drugs, but I think he would fall in the Rob Van Dam category. Which, for anyone that doesn't know what I'm talking about, there's a cover of High Times magazine with RVD, Del Alfonso, and Sabu on it. I think that's all we need to say.
No, he's openly talked about pot smoke as even on this show.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's one of those people that believes pot smoking should be legalized, and that's his views, and of course, it's still illegal, and you know what happens if you get caught smoking pot? You lose your championship. Yeah.
I don't remember Howard Finkel ever saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, due to pot smoke, the winner and new World Heavyweight Champion."
Well, CM Punk almost lost his title due to ingesting alcohol, which I didn't know that was a rule. Apparently, Austin, I don't know how Austin skirted by on that one, but okay.
Yeah, which, but by the way, by the way, when they were doing those segments, we all knew it was going to be some kind of setup where Punk would act like he was inebriated, and then, of course, exactly what they did. He acts inebriated, but then he passes the test because he's not, and it's a plan so he can get his hands on it.
He fucked up saying the ABCs backwards.
Yeah, he did, and I thought, that kind of ruins that because now I'm not sure anymore. They did. They kind of. He was doing the ABCs, and I think he went LMNOP forwards or something like that. And there you go.
Can I just ask something though? And this is fair. I can't do the ABCs backwards, and I've never had a drink in my life. How many people?
YXWVUTSRQPONMOKJIHGFEDCBA.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, well, hold on, James. Can you do it?
ZYX. No.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have a scientific test here. 2 out of 3 people on this line can't do it. I'm just saying.
Sorry, I'm going to say this real quick. My cousin passed away when he was 32, but before he died, he told me, never do drugs because if you do, you'll like them and they will kill you. And as a result, I never have. But he said, but if you ever do, remember your social security number forwards and backwards, and remember your license plate forwards and backwards, because if you can recite those to a cop, they'll never believe you're inebriated.
That's really funny.
What? Why do I have a feeling that's the advice he's going to give his 2 sons someday?
He already has. What are you talking about?
Oh, yeah. Oh, Jesus. So we really don't have anything else to talk about unless James has more to say about Lawler.
James? Did we lose James? I think we did. All right, so I guess we're done now. Thanks for staying on the line with me, Nick. It was a very good show. Hope you all, enjoy Night of Champions this weekend. Hopefully it's a good show. I know Ring of Honor is doing one of their iPay-per-views, but I refuse to order those because I always have technical problems. Or they always have technical problems whenever I do order them.
Patrick, let me just say this. You're not missing much unless you want to see the return to Ring of Honor of Matt Hardy.
Now that, to me, Ring of Honor loses all credibility as a Rebel promotion by doing that.
And by the way, it's not a one-shot appearance where he's going to show up and do an autograph signing during intermission. No. He's going to do commentary, and I bet that will lead to a match. I'll predict it right now. Final battle, Kevin Steen versus Matt Hardy for the ROH World Championship.
Could be. But, nothing. I'm not trying to slander Matt Hardy or anything. I'm just saying it's they backed TNA and WWE for using washed-up guys, and it's
look, Matt Hardy is pretty washed up. I mean, he bombed out of the WWE. I thought he looked decent at the start of his TNA run, but he fell apart pretty quickly. I mean, I've seen a couple of his matches since he got cut from TNA. They're horrible. They're not anything to write home about. Or they're not good. I mean, he's not in shape. He even there was that whole incident last year where he posted what people thought was a suicide note online. So,
people thought it was because he wanted them to think it was.
Well, yeah, I mean, he later apologized and said, well, no, what I was going for was I was going to announce my retirement. And people kind of misinterpreted it. It's like, you know what, they just announced that you're retiring, ladies and gentlemen. You clearly were going, you knew that you were leaving that ambiguous, and you knew that people might take it the wrong way.
No, I think he was blown out of his mind, and I think he might have even been depressed at the time, and I think he might have even been suicidal, because I think he's been to rehab since then. I personally, I don't believe the excuse. I think it was basically Jeff Hardy went and kicked the living shit out of him, because the police on record have Jeff's address, not Matt's. So the police were showing up to Jeff Hardy's house at like 2 in the morning. And I'm sure they've been there before at 2 in the morning, but this time it wasn't for a reason involving Jeff. So.
Well, we know they've been there at 2 in the morning because Jeff had to face drug trafficking charges.
There you go.
That's really, wow, that's really messed up. So, on that note, I think we're about done here, unless you've got something else you want to say, James?
Nope, I'm good to go, guys.
All right, well, thank you, both of you, for joining me tonight, and we will have more for you in the future. Oh, what?
Yeah, Ryan Howe is going to be coming on in the next couple of days. For those who haven't kept up with this guy, I don't know how he managed to do it, but he's basically a character I made in a No Mercy video game come to life. He does the whole glam rock thing. He plays the guitar similar to Max Payne or Man Mountain Rock, whatever you want to call him. And he does the whole gimmick, but he plays it, and he actually is a good worker. If you haven't seen him yet, you can check out ovwrestling.com, not OVW Wrestling, ovwrestling.com, and watch some of the recent episodes of OVW. They're available streaming online. They're free. It's good wrestling shows, and check out this guy. That's pretty impressive. I think he might be another guy who might get a gut check opportunity. And as we found out with my Taylor Hendricks one, it was a pretty good bet. So check him out.
Sounds good.
Have him on the next couple of weeks.
I look forward to having him on. Sounds interesting. So for James Walsh and Nick Noel, I am Patrick Kelly saying thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you later.